Welcome to the show designed to give you crypto confidence. Created by the marketing communications specialists at BlockSparks, we want to help you learn about cryptocurrency and blockchain in a safe and friendly place. Because we believe this stuff is far too exciting to leave it to the geeks. Come and join us to learn more. Welcome back to Crypto Confidence. It's great to have you here with us. And we really appreciated the feedback and responses to the previous episode about the narrative platform. I know we have some new listeners who are active there and have now joined us here on the podcast. So a very warm welcome to you and indeed to anybody else tuning in for the first time. And in today's episode, we're returning to a theme close to all of our hearts here at BlockSparks, that of empowering women in emergent technologies such as blockchain and cryptocurrency. There are still far too few women making their careers in these exciting industries of the future. But there are some brilliant people working hard to redress that balance, and we're delighted to be joined by one of those brilliant people today, Susan Maddison, who is one of the founders of Women in Tech Revolution. Welcome, Susan.
Hello world.
It's great to have you here. Now, whatever we're talking about, I always end up starting these interviews with the same question because it produces such fascinating, interesting, different answers each time. Would you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey into this emergent tech crypto space? How did you get to where you are now?
Okay, of course. Always good to start at the beginning. Yeah. So I am Susan Maddison, and I grew up with computers. My dad was in IT, so I was the girl who took a hard drive to school to show and tell when I was 5. Me and my brother used to strip the colored wires out of old PCs to make friendship bracelets and sell them for twice the price compared to the other kids.
Excellent.
So I grew up with technology and am fascinated by it. And what I'm most proud of is breaking the mold of what it is to be a geek and a female leader. I mean, if we look at technology, like we've gone from horses to cars, candles to light bulbs, snail mail to instant messaging. And in my time over the past 2 decades, we've experienced how the internet has weaved its way into our lives. I mean, 10 years ago, there's no iPad, Spotify, Uber, and the next 10 years are going to be equally exciting.
We cannot even imagine, can we, how much change is going to impact us and the rate of that change. That's what's so exciting.
Yeah. So I've had 20 years of adventures in IT. I moved from Saudi Arabia to the UK at the end of 99 and dived straight into the ever-changing, fast-paced IT industry, specifically the world of software development. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to blockchain, crypto, it was actually January 2018 when I fell into the world, as most people do, of blockchain, crypto, ICOs. And it was through a friend of my dad's who came to us with a proposal, asking us to help, could you find the good blockchain DLT projects and help present us to our Chinese angel investors and take a cut of the deal. So I started going to all of the meetups and this is how the whole Women in Tech Revolution thing started, because honestly, I felt like I'd gone back 10, 20 years being the only girl in the room again.
Wow, okay. So why are we still dealing with this problem then in 2019? Because we have had decades of accessible internet and technology. Why are women still so underrepresented in blockchain in particular, do you think?
Well, the way I like to answer this one, because it's a bit of a bugbear of mine, because I believe slightly an old story. Because I've been in the IT industry for 20 years, and yes, used to be the only girl in the room, but not anymore. And yes, in the blockchain space, there is slightly less. But I honestly believe, say if you Googled female tech influencers or females in blockchain, there's actually quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I think part of the problem is stop telling the story that there's no women in tech, et cetera, et cetera. But, there's lots of other things about, visibility. Are they applying for the jobs, et cetera, et cetera? But it's something
that visibility is really important. And I agree with you 100%. And that's why we love featuring female-led projects on Crypto Confidence Show and encouraging people who are maybe more used to getting on with it than blowing their own trumpet about what they're doing to actually come forward and share all the amazing stuff that women are doing in this space. Because I agree that there is an awful lot going on. It's just not as visible for some reason.
Yep. No, I completely agree. I mean, the world has changed. It wasn't like it was 20 years ago. There's a lot of work that's being done to change the story. Everyone is welcome. The guys are welcoming. It's fun, friendly environment. It's not boys' banter club. And even if you just look at general society, I think there's slightly less of the gender bias thing happening because, there's computers are for girls, gadgets can be for girls. There's plenty of girl gamers out there. And this whole it's not possible for a female to be successful or or be on a board or run a company, I honestly think is this old story that we keep telling ourselves.
Yeah, I think there's definitely been a shift in the cultural discourse, really just in the last couple of years, where people are more comfortable calling out discrimination and lack of inclusivity and naming it for what it is and really highlighting the events or the companies or the communities where it's evidently lacking. And I feel like that's been the biggest shift, that there are people speaking out about it more. Do you think that's an important part of the trend? How is it going to increase?
Yeah, no, definitely. And we are a big promoter of the he for she movement.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the problem is, perhaps women don't speak up, and there's plenty of men out there willing to promote and help and nurture. But again, if the women aren't saying anything, it's hard for them to go, ooh, look at what she's doing. You should go and talk to her, promote her. So I think, it's the collaboration of both men and women that are really going to make a difference, and quickly. We're a big believer of this whole collaborate to conquer.
Definitely. I think it's part of a bigger cultural shift from diversity and recognizing difference to positive inclusivity and bringing people into the conversation. That's what's been lacking for a long time, I think, in so many spheres of society. And maybe we're finally taking that step. And I don't know what it is. It's a combination of Me Too and some very high profile exposes like Gamergate that's making people say, hang on a minute, we've got to do something about this and actually create a space where women are welcome, where people of colour are welcome, and we can actually collaborate to do our best work together.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And it's also it's not also just looking at the adult world. I generally believe you have to go to the root as well. So, and there's at our last meetup, we had the lady from Teens and AI, who is, generally believes age is not a barrier, and she has a program, an accelerator for 12 to 18-year-olds. It's
Fantastic.
crazy. She gives them the mission of, how are you going to change the world to these 12 to 18-year-olds, and then teaches them AI, machine learning, blockchain, crypto solutions, and, trains them up, and then they create something with that. So I think it's also, changing the mindset of society, the curriculum in schools, so that, the stories
don't get me started
there.
on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? That's a whole other podcast.
Yes. No, that's brilliant that there are people doing that work with the next generation. And, I know that there are groups all around the world, like Women in Tech and Girls in Tech and so on, leading on that front, because they're the ones who are going to change it. And just as we're getting inspired by so many much younger role models, from the environment to education, and it's just incredible to see what this new generation is going to make of the world. And all we can do is try and smooth that path and give them something decent to inherit, I think, because the thing that mainly concerns me in terms of blockchain and crypto is to make sure we wind up with products and a user experience that includes everybody. And it's still, we're on that cusp where the tools aren't very accessible even to anybody slightly less technical or a little bit more mature who maybe hasn't grown up managing their own digital access. And I think the products and tools that we see in the future have got to include women, just in talking about them and developing them and saying what they need.
Yeah. No, I'm a big believer of diversity breeding creativity. And I think, I think the best ideas, businesses, collaborations, they're born from passionate teams of humans, any men or women, mixed backgrounds, ages, industries, who blend that, the masculine, feminine energies and powers to create these cool products, services, come up with new ways of thinking, living. And it's those diverse, creative collaborations using the next wave of these emerging technologies who are really going to like change society, enhance it, enhance our lives. And really, I love what you touched upon there is dissolve the divide and like close the gap for those who have less access to education, health, wealth, and freedom. And I generally believe technology is going to play a massive part in that.
Definitely, but we have to somehow shift those technologies from being a niche, geeky thing to being something that's part of the everyday consumer experience. And that's why I believe so passionately about the involvement of women. Because in my previous life, before I went down this rabbit hole, I did a lot of work in consumer research. And we know from that women are the gatekeepers for so many purchases and acquisitions and shifts in how we do everyday things in the home in terms of family finances and activities and health and travel and all sorts of things. We have to be taking women with us. Otherwise, it's going to hold up adoption for everybody. So anyway, I don't need to tell you that because you're living and breathing this. And you are one of the founders of Women in Tech Revolution. So please tell us about that organization. Where did it come about? We get the why. So tell me about the what.
Okay, cool. So I kind of touched on it a little bit right at the beginning. So Women in Tech Revolution was started by myself and my amazing business partner, Natalie Furness, last year in 2018.
Who joined us on a very early episode of this podcast. I would say go back, I think it's about episode 4. We talked about careers in blockchain with Natalie. So we've been involved with this network from the start.
Yes, you are definitely one of our fangirls and promoters. When were you at our meetup? Was it October last year? You flew over. It was
last summer,
to support us.
That I spoke at an event in London, which was early in the history of the network. But you still had so many amazing women and men there who'd come to listen to the visions for this new technology. So that was really exciting.
Yeah. So I mean that's how it all started. So I was at this blockchain IoT meetup in April, and lo and behold, I was the only woman there. And then this other woman walks in. I got super excited. And of course, this was Natalie. I was like, oh, people like me. Let's go say hello to her. And it turns out we were both speaking, which again, that was quite strange. Only 2 females in the room were actually on the stage.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing that they had inclusivity on the panel, but it was such an unrepresentative audience.
Yeah. No, it was weird. And then I kept bumping into her. So in May, we were at the EOS launch and, kept bumping into each other, these meetups and learning about each other. And we were sharing our passions. And so in June, we just, screw it. Let's do it. Let's do our own thing.
Brilliant.
And so that's what we're really about is, getting any women into technology. You don't have to have a STEM background, computer science degree. Anyone can join in at any age. And so we started, you got to start somewhere. So we started with meetups. So back in 2018, we ran 5 meetups from July to November. And every meetup, the audience increased by 25%. So it was 30-ish in July, up to over 100 in November. And the amazing thing for, blockchain, crypto, emerging tech meetup, it was always 60 to 80% women, which was very strange. So we obviously were doing something right. But we took a pivot or a break in December just to really evaluate what we're doing, what did we learn, et cetera, et cetera. And what we kind of came up with for 2019 is this inspire, nurture, collide models and initiatives. And we decided that, we hit onto a good thing. We really loved it. We're giving back to the world. But we also learned that it's a lot of work for 2 people to do. Definitely. So our goals for 2019 were, let's get a team together. So we added a couple more ladies into the leadership team. We got some interns to help with our social media, helping with the events, finding speakers, venues, etc. So that in 2019, we decided to do the quarterly meetups. We introduced the mentoring program, of which you were one of our first mentors, and then also experimenting with this secret dinner club. So we're this year more focused on promoting, creating, and connecting the next generation of Industry 4 leaders.
That sounds brilliant. Now, I want to talk about the mentoring scheme in a minute, but would you tell us a little bit more about your events and especially the secret clubs versus the public events? How do people get involved and what does it mean for them?
Okay. So if we go to the Inspire, Nurture, Collide. So for Inspire, we match the events up with that. So the intention of our events is to showcase inspiring female role models, get them on the stages, get them speaking up. We film them for our channel on YouTube. And then to, collide women from every generation, different industries in the audience and on the stages to really change the perception of what it is to be a woman in tech. And for the nurture bit is the mentoring program, which I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more about. And then the secret dinner clubs, that's the colliding or connecting, if you like. And those they're super fun. They're intimate dinners, 10 to 20 ladies in a private dining room, a max mix of investors and people who maybe want investment and those who are just a bit curious and want to get into the industry. And we get people around the table. It's social. We don't have an agenda, and just really, share our stories, how we got into tech, what help we need. And also, what can we do? Stop talking about the problem. What can we do? What is the solution to getting more women into this space? And, getting women more confident so they speak up and actually have something to say.
Well, I think if people make those intimate over dinner connections with, even if it's just one or two other people that they feel that they really relate to, and then they can pick up that relationship and they can take it forward outside of that space. I think it's really fascinating, and it's really playing to the strengths of how women connect and communicate. I love that you're doing the big scale speaker on a platform with a growing audience that's clearly getting bigger every time, but you're also doing these smaller, inspirational, deeply connecting events. I think that's really exciting. So we'll make sure we share your website information in the show notes, and we'll talk about that at the end of this interview, because I want people to know exactly how they can find out and get involved in what you're doing. But going from the big scale to the truly intimate, then the one-to-one relationships, please tell us more about the mentoring scheme, because I think that's such an exciting development.
Okay, so I want to start with why I believe mentoring is important, if I may. So I've been a leader in the IT space for over a decade, and I also had a life coaching business for 3 years.
Right.
And through those experiences, I came to know that as a leader, a coach, or a mentor, there's a beautiful gift that you get to give every day, and that's belief. So you're believing in others, you're giving them the direction, the resources and support to really grow and shine. And I love doing it. It's one of the most rewarding things you can do, is gift someone self-belief.
Yes.
So back in December, when we took the little pause, little retrospective, when my co-founder, work wife, Natalie, asked me.
I love that. It's like a marriage when you're working intimately with a partner like that.
Oh God, yeah, seriously, it really, really is. Ups and downs and everything. But yeah, when Natalie asked me, what would I love to do in 2019? What do I want to create for women in tech revolution? My answer was to merge my belief in coaching and personal development with our mission for developing strong female leaders who inspire to play a part in shaping the next 10 years. And she loved the idea. And then, as Natalie does, she gave me a deadline to design it, make it, launch it at our first event of this year in March. So
that's why you make such a good marriage together.
I know. So again, that's what I did. So, what I came up with was obviously our niche is Industry 4. So I'd find 10 Industry 4 mentors, so ladies who are in the blockchain space, crypto, AI, machine learning, cyber, whatever, and then find mentees and match them up to these Industry 4 leaders. And then create, weekly, bi-weekly calls. So put them together for 3 months on a mentoring journey, which is quite organic. Didn't put too much structure into that. With the premise that eventually the mentee would become the mentor and pay it forward. So you create a little cycle. And the whole purpose of the mentoring program, because it's good to have goals and focus, was to create a cross-generation, cross-industry mentoring for women at any stage of their career in tech, specifically if they wanted to get into emerging tech.
Yes.
But also help the women improve their employability, raise their aspirations, and encourage them to explore their leadership potential. So that was the whole purpose of it. And goals specifically for the mentoring program was to run 2 successful pilots this year with a pause in between, which is where we are right now, and make sure everyone involved had a good experience, both mentors, mentees, myself, putting it together with the intention to take all of these learnings from the 2 pilots, the 2 cohorts, to launch the mentoring program fully in 2020 to support our big mission to increase the number of women in the Industry 4 tech space.
Fantastic. Well, it seems to me like a really good scalable model when you get that that relationship right. You're promoting all these little intimate connections, but you can scale that up as an organization and match people up really well. And as you say, it's self-sustaining. As people come through the program, then they're able to give something back to people who are maybe at a different stage in their career, because it's not a sort of linear hierarchical thing, isn't it? We all have these processes of change in our life where we might welcome a bit of guidance from someone who's trodden that particular bit of our path ahead of us and can share. It's not about seniority within a career or within a sector, but it's just people who can help with a specific thing that you're trying to accomplish. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, no, I genuinely believe like being mentored it's one of the most valuable and effective ways to develop yourself. You know, if you want to get somewhere, go find someone who has what you want or is where you want to be and go learn from them.
Definitely.
You know, why waste the time? If they're willing to give you their time for free, because our mentoring program's for free, why waste your time? Just go talk to someone who's, you know, where you want to be and go learn from them.
Actually done it, yes. It's like when you go to business school and ask your lecturer how many businesses they've actually run. You might be better off going and finding an entrepreneur who's actually trodden that path and say, okay, what do you wish you'd known? And actually modeling those behaviors and the things that worked. And I love the idea that women are encouraged to give back into that community and take everything that they have learned and share that with people who can benefit from it and continue to cascade this knowledge and experience, and holding the doors open both practically and emotionally and in every other sense. So this is the next step. Come along, you're welcome.
Yeah, and the whole premise of coaching, mentoring is, you know, we're in the knowledge economy now. Like literally anyone, you can go on the internet and go find out anything you want to, but it's the implementation execution where most people fall down. You have this, what I call it, the shelf development. Well, they'll read the book, they go to the talk or buy the course or whatever it is, and then nothing happens. Because sometimes you do need that little bit of accountability, you need that support, that sounding board, and that's where having a mentor or a coach really comes in to move the needle.
Definitely, and they're not going to do it for you, but they can provide through that coaching style of conversation some ideas and some boundaries and some accountability for the things you're going to do between the time we talk and the next time we talk. And once we've identified what those things are, then it's over to you to actually do it. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're doing something pioneering in the space, if you're trying to do something for yourself, there's no one else holding that accountability for you. And it's hard doing it on your own, isn't it?
Yeah. No, when I actually set up my coaching business, I've had a couple of successful IT-related businesses before, but there were other people there. So funny enough, when I was running the coaching one, I was all on my lonesome doing, you know, the on the business and in the business, so delivering the coaching. But then you've got all of that other stuff, like the admin, the social media, the finance, the strategy, all of that kind of stuff. And it is a lot of work for one person. And I found it valuable to have other people I could talk to about it. And then also, you know, eventually learned delegating was a good thing as well.
It's great to reach that point when you can delegate a little bit of it, isn't it? But you still have to do all of the thinking and steering yourself. And it's actually really good to have somebody outside of your business relationships to do that with, not colleagues or clients or associates, but people who have no vested interest in any of your decisions in that sense, but actually have you and your personal professional development as their only interest in the entire relationship. So no, I agree that it's incredibly powerful, and without wanting to be stereotypical, it's a great fit with how women connect and communicate, particularly in marginalised spaces. I think just to have those role models, the same way that you and Natalie connected across that room full of men.
Yeah. And that's the thing with the mentoring. It's a really intimate relationship. Like you share a hell of a lot more than you probably might with your friends. Like what's your fears? Why aren't you doing stuff? This is my baby I'm going to tell you about. So it is a really intimate relationship, the mentoring journey. And it is. It's a beautiful thing. Like I've loved being able to have the opportunity to combine my love for coaching, mentoring with the tech stuff on a big mission to change the world.
So tell me about how the first pilot went, because obviously I know about my little bit of it, the relationship that I was involved in, but I would love to know the broader findings and successes and what you learned from it.
Yeah, give you the juicy stuff. So back in March was when we launched the applications for the first mentoring cohort. So 10 mentors, 10 mentees who I played matchmaker for, personal matchmaking. And it ran from April to July. And depending on the availability of the mentors, it was either a bi-weekly call or a weekly call. And I gave them a bit of a support playbook, etc., etc. But what the learnings were quite interesting. So most of the feedback was on being a bit more stringent in the intake process and making it super clear to the mentees that, they're the ones doing the work. They need to commit their time. They need to really look at their lives for that 3 months and make sure they're available. They're not on holiday, or they're not trying to get their chartered accountant qualification or write a book or whatever the hell it is. Like, if, the mentoring is intentional investment of your time.
Yes.
And you're setting yourself up for failure as a mentee if you're not willing to have those. When we were asking them how much time did you put in every week, it was anywhere from like 2 hours to 20 hours, depending if they're an entrepreneur, day job, etc., etc. So that was the biggest learning.
It's a challenge, that one, isn't it? Because all the people who are going to be attracted to this are those hustling, busy entrepreneurs who are doing so many things with their lives, and they're women who we know are typically less likely to value the investment in themselves and pushing themselves forward. So how can we get people to see how important this is and how much they could gain from it?
Yeah, exactly. So this time round, so I'm actually going to be doing the matchmaking this weekend for the next cohort. But I will be having a couple rounds of calls with the mentees, which I think are a good fit for the mentors I have signed up for this one.
Great.
And through my coaching powers and listening skills, really ascertain if they're going to have the time to commit and really, see if they have that fire, that passion to actually do something. And the other thing, but to really clarify as well, there's a difference between coaching and mentoring. So coaching is, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm in limbo or whatever, and it's more for them to come up with stuff. But we had, I'd say 50% of the mentees didn't actually have a clear goal. They didn't actually know why they wanted to have a mentor. So I'll be doing that as well. Is I put it in on the intake form, but really make sure that they have a clear goal or goals, because 3 months isn't a lot of time to achieve something. So those are the big intake learnings. And there's also a bit about the matchmaking, making sure it sounded like someone wanted, a tech mentor, but actually what they needed was a business strategy mentor.
Right.
So again, really looking at the intake, the clarity and the commitment of the mentee.
Yeah.
So
So
those
it's
are
about
the
them
biggest
really
learnings.
committing to the process and really understanding everything that they can potentially gain from it, because the benefits are very apparent. If you know what it can bring to you, then you will find that time. But maybe if people don't understand that clearly enough at the outset, and life has a lot of other conflicting priorities coming in, then it's easy for that time to pass and for meetings to get postponed and pushed back, and suddenly we're running out of the scheme itself and we haven't achieved what we wanted. So I think that really hard qualifying is going to make a big difference.
Yeah. And also it was the other bits of feedback, was funny enough, it's the beginning and the end, was that we didn't have a big enough celebration. So
Right.
the intention was that we get all the mentors, mentees in a room and we, have a bit of a party. But then, the reality of getting 20 people in a room, particularly yourself as you're in Spain,
Yes, apologise when
into
I'm the one in
London,
another country.
over the summer holidays,
Indeed.
a bit
Yeah.
challenging. But I do really, really acknowledge that. So we did invite people along to our July meetup, but I think we could do a better job of celebrating, whether that's in person or on social media, sending them
Maybe
little
have a big
gifts or
virtual
something.
party or something, have a big online meetup
Yeah.
where you come together just to celebrate the relationship and the kind of the graduation of that cohort of mentees who can then be encouraged to become mentors. Because I agree, it is just the fact that everybody's busy, I guess, and even the ones who really committed to the process of the actual mentoring relationship, it feels a little bit like the celebration and the stuff on the either end is more optional. And I agree, that's a shame.
Yeah, yeah. So that was definitely stretch goal for me, is to somehow celebrate, because yet again the next cohort. So applications are done, but it's the next cohort's running from mid-September and wrapping up
Brilliant.
end of November, just before just before the festive period kicks in.
Okay, well,
So I
let's
need
hope so.
to work this one out sooner
Yeah.
rather than later.
So, what are your
But yeah,
hopes and expectations then? What's going to be different this time? What's round two going to bring?
okay. So again, definitely add in the social media. Uh, track to it, because that's something I didn't have time to get that going when we
Okay.
decided another screw it, let's do it in a moment and
So, what
launch
will
this
that look
mentoring
like in
program.
terms of the mentoring?
So it will be to kind of promote the mentors,
Hmm.
because they have agreed that we can promote them, but also have some quotes, some more resources, and if the mentees are open to it at the end, promote them on social media as well.
Mm.
A few of them have agreed to video testimonials, etc., etc. So really promote both the mentors and the mentees throughout, and
What a
then
great
also
idea. And that really
yeah,
adds value for everybody because the mentees are mostly launching new things, aren't they? And trying to
yeah.
get new projects off the ground. So to give them that promotion as well without compromising the privacy of the mentoring relationship, but to actually celebrate their projects, that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, yeah. And then also, so we obviously, you asked the question on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is a waste of time, 10 is eternally grateful. How would you rate your mentoring experience? So our scores range between 4 and 9 for whatever
Okay.
reasons. So the aim for the second mentoring cohort is to get those scores to 8 to 10, so that
Hmm.
every mentor mentee has a consistent and most amazing mentoring experience. So that's the big goal, and then
Yes.
yeah, somehow celebrate while Christmas is about to appear.
Well, that will be an amazing thing to celebrate because obviously you're having to be very selective in this process and match people up well and include the best mentors and the mentees who can gain the most from it. So, for everybody who is chosen to participate, there'll be people who are disappointed, and those scores should be high from the people
Yeah,
who've gained the most from it. So, I think that
yeah,
they need to commit, they need to get involved, show up to their meetings, and actually take the agreed actions and
yep,
stay accountable in between. So I think that's going to be really interesting to look at how that shifts over time. So if people want to get involved, obviously this round is closing now because you're doing your matchmaking and pairing people up, and you need to try and get it wrapped up before all those Christmas parties kick in.
yeah.
But I'm very confident that this is going to be the start of something that's ongoing into 2020 and beyond. So, what are you looking for in participants? Let's start with the mentors first. Who is your ideal mentor for this scheme?
Okay, so being a mentor is all about being a role model. That's step one. And so specifically, you're up to something in the emerging tech space, and you're professional, you have positive behaviors, and you really really want to share your life, your business experience, to help another really move forward, and perhaps even collapse the timeline for how long it took you to get there, to really
Mm,
help someone else get there a lot quicker. So I think when you're being a good mentor, you have to, as well as, your technical skill or your industry experience, you have to have that so that you are an inspiring role model. But then it's all of the other skills. I think as a mentor, you have to be a really good listener. You
mm.
have to have that ability to build that trust and a relationship. And also, like, basically, how I like to frame it is, it's that balance of love and tough love
Yep.
for your mentee, and be able to deliver that in not too
Yeah.
harsh a way.
So, I mean, a lot of people might wonder when confronted with that list and think, well, I don't know if I'm good enough or if I'm enough of a role model. But actually, the skills and attributes you're describing are things that anybody who has set up their own business, anybody who's supervised other people, anybody who's helped other people and knows how to build relationships and connect would probably have the potential to do this and do it well if they were motivated to do so.
Yeah, yeah, and I love how you're bringing this up, because that's one of the interesting things. I knew it would happen, but speaking to all of the mentors, no matter how experienced they were, or if this was their first mentee, everyone had a little bit of the imposter syndrome throughout
It's
their.
what we do.
Yeah, yeah. And it ranged from, oh my gosh, I've got a mentee. Wow, what am I meant to do? Going,
Mm.
ooh, she's older, younger than me. She's in a different industry. Oh, she's so amazing. What am I going to offer her? But then as soon as, all of the mentors know how to battle their inner demons, that negative soundtrack. But, within a few calls, you see that you can add value. You don't need to be an expert in whatever it is or have, had a 10 million pound business to actually mentor
Absolutely.
somebody.
And you're
You
not
just
going to
need to be a few
adopt
steps
them and
ahead.
change their life in 3 months. You need to find that specific area where you can add value to what they need, and whatever else they've done or accomplished or achieved in their life, they need something or they
Yeah.
wouldn't be in that process. And if they're clear about what they need and you have that, then
Yeah.
there's no kind of hierarchical relationship or seniority. It's about, I can give you this. And,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be here talking to me unless you felt I could do that. So, yeah, we have to
That's
bust this imposter syndrome somehow.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly it, Maya. It's I personally select the mentors. So going
Yeah.
back to that belief thing, if I've selected you to be a mentor, I believe that you will be the most amazing mentor, and you have a lot to give another
Yeah.
person.
And you can help with that relationship. I mean, my mentee was an extremely accomplished professional. And, at first looking at her CV and meeting her, I had that absolute wave of, oh, goodness, what does she need from me? But you see, these things aren't linear and they're not comparable. And, I'm sure I could have learned many things from her if the relationship were reversed. It's not about somebody being more authoritative than other people. It's about a specific process where you've agreed to help somebody through a particular transition. And
Yeah.
that's where you can bring the value. So, okay, it sounds like there's an awful lot of people who could potentially fit into that mentoring role if they really examine what they can be a role model in and where they can help other people with what specific things. And you'll coach them through that understanding
Yes.
of what they can bring and what they're going to bring to the network and what they're going to get out of the relationship. So override that imposter syndrome, ladies. Look at what you've done, look at what you've achieved, and just think about how that could potentially help somebody else. And as Susan said, and I meant to pick up on, how all of the stuff that you've learned and the journey you've been on, what you wish you'd known, which might maybe have smoothed that path or let you get there a little bit quicker, the things you can only see when you look back.
Exactly. Connect those dots.
Yeah,
Hindsight is a wonderful thing.
it really is. And often we can look back and think, well, the only thing I've learned is a million ways not to do it. But actually, that's incredibly valuable learning in
It
itself.
is very valuable.
You can short circuit some of those stages where everything seems to be going wrong, or all those amazing learning experiences. So, okay, I think we've got lots of people could potentially join the scheme as mentors for the
Yeah.
future rounds. Now, what about mentees? What are we looking for specifically in a mentee?
So for mentees, if I had to sum it up in 3 words, it would be ambition,
Okay,
desire, and commitment.
great.
You obviously, you want to be up to something. You're somewhere in your career and you want to go up to the next level, or maybe you're in the corporate world and you want to start a business, or you've started a business and you want to scale it. So it's that ambition to be better
Mm.
somehow and progress your career and really have that desire to improve yourself and make an impact in the world. But the biggest thing from mentees is the commitment.
Yeah.
It's as all mentors and mentees experienced. The level of commitment from some of the mentees was not optimal, but just really, really just take a look at your life, and whenever the next cohort starts, really look at can you scale down maybe some of the other things that you do to really make a intentional investment of 3 months to really skyrocket
Mm.
and put a fire under your bum, get you to where you want to be a hell
Yeah.
of a lot quicker.
And really understand everything that you potentially have to gain from this. And it is always going to be a contradiction because it will be the busiest, most ambitious people are the ones who have the very full schedules. But because this is not for people who want to stay where they are
No,
and coast along in their
definitely not.
lives. So that's very clear. It's for people who are all about that change and that shift and just want
Yeah.
to. It's not so much that they need help, but they just want to make that shift in the best way possible and get the optimum input and learning to make it go as smoothly and effectively as it possibly can. So if anybody's listening to this thinking, that maybe sounds like me, or on the other hand, maybe I could help somebody in that position, then what should they do?
Well, they should they can send an email to mentor@witechrev.com. I'm sure you'll put it in the notes with this podcast. So you can either get onto our website or just, simply reach out, mentor@witechrev.com. We'd be more than happy to support you, line you up, put on the waiting list for the next cohort.
Fantastic. And that's likely to be early in the new year.
Yes. So we will likely, I'm going to pick February to kick off the next one. So we'll wrap up the current cohort that's about to start in December. Again, take the learnings, reflect on the year, have a bit of a retrospective for ourselves, and then, relaunch in January. Awesome. Probably, I think our next event is going to be in February. So I tend to launch the applications there, and then a month later, the cohort will start. So, same March to June.
Brilliant. And if people want to find out about your London events and your secret dinners and everything else, where should they go for that?
They should simply go to our website, which is www.witechrev.com. And for anyone on social media, we are on every platform, but we're most active on LinkedIn and Twitter. So on Twitter, it's @WomenInTechRev, and then same on LinkedIn. If you search Women in Tech Revolution, you'll find us. And it's not just about the mentors and the mentees. In 2020, we're preparing to scale our operations so we can offer more and branch out a little bit.
Brilliant.
So it's,
anything coming up that you can tell us about? I'm sure a lot of this you're still developing and keeping under wraps, but any new projects coming up?
So same, we're still going to run with the events, the mentoring program. We have visions and dreams of doing hackathons, perhaps an Industry 4 week, but again, without scaling the team. So we need passionate Industry 4 ladies to join the leadership team. We also need ambitious, talented ladies to join our operations teams to help run our events programs, digital infrastructure, social media, analyze our data. So it's not just to reach out to people interested in mentoring.
Sure.
Anyone who wants to be part of the shift and who really resonates with our mission and vision, then just please find us on social media, reach out to our website, or email ask@witechrev.com.
Fantastic. Well, that's a real call to action to step up and get involved, because if the mentoring is a process through which you can learn and develop, I would think getting involved with the organization, with the network itself, is like mentoring plus. Whatever you give will come back to you in spades. You will explode your network. You will meet some amazing people. You'll go to some fantastic events. So I really strongly recommend anybody who, particularly if you're near the London area and you can get to the live events. I so enjoyed them when I was involved with. So please check out all of those social links, put your hand up, see what you can do. And then you can find yourself part of this amazing network. So thank you. Thank you very much for sharing with us today all the amazing things you've been up to.
No, and thank you, Maya. Again, you've been with us from the beginning. You even flew over to join us. And again, we've been supporter of both of our businesses, and I really, really value you reaching out to me to talk about the mentoring program. It's been fun.
A pleasure. Well, it's such a great fit with everything we believe in BlockSparks and at the Crypto Confidence podcast. It's about making these things accessible and inclusive, but also exciting, because we think this stuff is far too interesting to leave it to a narrow cohort of geeks. We've got to get involved, we've got to step up, we've got to have fun with it. So all power to the future for Women in Tech Revolution.
Yeah, the future is far too important to leave to men.
Yay. Thanks very much.
Cool. Thank you very much, Maya.
Thanks for listening to Crypto Confidence. If you like what you hear, please do consider leaving us a review via your favourite podcasting app and joining the conversation online in whichever way you prefer. Full contact details are in the show notes for this episode. And remember, nothing in this podcast or our related social media, nor anything else published by BlockSparks OU at any location, is intended as financial, investment or trading advice. Everything we write or say represents our personal opinions for your information, education and entertainment only. You should not make any decisions based on anything we share with you, not without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with appropriate professional advisors. Crypto Confidence is all about being smart and informed and making the right choices for you.